comment that he made was misplaced. Because he should have said a comment together with other comments about the psak. And since he didn't, the Gemara says that's not what he could be referring to. So we were looking for the halacha where Ravin said in the name of Reb Chidina that the halacha is like Reb Shimon Shizuri. So the Gemara coming on to Amar Aleph said maybe the halacha is by sheda, by a box, and by yayin, and by wine. What are these two halachas? That's what we're up to now. Zok to Gemara. These are the two halachas. Sheda, the Tanan we learned. Hasheda, a box. Beishamai says, Nimdadis mibifnim. Why do we need to measure a box? Zok Rashi, because in Mesechus Kelim it says, Keveres Akash v'Keveres Hakodim u'Bor Svina Alexandris v'Sheda. We're talking about all very large kelim. Tevel Migdal shemachzikin mem saw belach. If they can hold 40 saw of liquids, shehem kurayim biyavesh, which would be 2 kur of dry goods, yatsu mitayras kli. They're no longer a keli because when it's something so big, it cannot be moved when it's full. And therefore, since it's too big to be moved when it's full, it's not mitaltel mole virekon, or mole virekon. It's not mitaltel mole. Therefore, it is not mekabel tova. How big does something have to be to qualify as a sheda? Titnan sheda beishami armim nimdadis mibifnim. We said it has to be machzik memsa. Do you measure its inner surfaces? Meaning, do you actually only consider the interior? And if the interior contains a kurayim or memsa, then it's called too big. Basil is machmer. He actually makel, because he says even if it's only big enough, because you are counting the walls of the keli, you measure it from its outside dimensions, it's still going to be ois keli where it's not mitama. But if this box is sitting on legs, the thickness of those legs, or if there's any rims, that they're both moide that does not count. And you'll be Yosy are nimnad. But let's say it's sitting on legs, so there's going to be dead airspace underneath this box. That dead airspace you don't count as part of the mass of the keli. But Reb Shimon Shizuri Aimer im hayu reglaim gvois tefach. If they're tefach high and it's a big gap underneath the box, then ein beineim nimdad. But the lav is the very short legs, then beineim nimdad. So when you're calculating the size of the keli, you calculate in the cheshbon the thickness of the walls and even the area below the keli if the keli's legs are very short. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Omar Ayayin. You know where we paskening like Reb Shimon Shizuri? It's in the halacha of yayin. Ditnan Reb Meir Omer shemen tchila la'olam. A shemen, no matter what it touches, it becomes a rishon l'tumah. So even if a sheni l'tumah touches it, it becomes a rishon. V'chachamim marim af advash, which is also a mashke. Reb Shimon Shizuri Omer af yayin, even wine. What does that mean? Mechlal the Tanacham Mesaver Yayin Loi. Reb Shimon Shizuri says Af Yayin. It's a mashke. The Tanacham holds that Yayin is not a mashke. It wouldn't become a rishon. Eimer Reb Shimon Shizuri Eimer Yayin. He holds only Yayin and not Shemen. So you have the same question. Tashvis asks, Yayin and not Shemen. Why would Shemen not be a mashke? So Tashvis answers, V'tir Chabein Tam Da'achamari B'Korish. We're speaking about when it hardened a little bit, it gelled, it froze, it's more of a solid. So there shemen would lose its din of a mashke, but yayin, even if it's korish, does not lose its din of a mashke. So So these are two halachas that Ula could have been referring to when he said that the halacha is like Reb Shimon Shuzuri here and elsewhere. Gewaltig. Zog to Gemara weiter. Tanya we learned in the Brisa. Amar Reb Shimon Shuzuri. Pamachas. Once upon a time, this Arav Li Tevel b'chulin. I found Tevel that got mixed up with chulin. And that's a very big problem because now you can't fix it. Because what are you supposed to do? You can't be Torah Mizelza because you might be taking Truma from chulin on Tevel. You got to take Truma from Tevel on Tevel, not from chulin on Tevel. So he didn't know what to do. Ubasia came. V'sha'alti es Reb Tarfon, and I asked Reb Tarfon, what should I do over here? V'amali, and he told me, Lech, go, kach loch min hashuk, go buy more tevel from the shuk, v'aser alav, and you can use that you know for sure is tevel, and that could be what you're going to use to be bisaken the tevel that you cannot find within this pile that has chulin and tevel mixed together. But it wasn't mamish tevel. Rashi says this arvli tevel demai b'chulin. V'loyocha lahavrish mimenu. I couldn't be mavish minei bay mepnei chulin hamu avim boy. The aval gav didmai loy mechayiv midoraisa b'maiser. Even though midoraisa you're not mechuyev to take Trumas and Maisers from Demai, Afilu Hochi Hol Mechayiv B'Drabanan, Havalei Min Chulin HaPoter Al Tevel HaChiyav. So he told them, Kach Min HaShuk more Demai, buy from the same Amoritz or another Amoritz, Demai which has the same Chiyav. The Havanami Poter D'Oraisa Al Poter D'Oraisa. Now Rashi doesn't like this pshat, so I'm going to back out of this pshat. Rashi says it's speaking where it was Tevel Mamish. Without Tevel Mamish. So let's look at Rashi. The Koshali. Im Kenke Shaloichem in Oibit Kechavim, Nami Shema Amaoret Zeh, Shemocha Per Shalol Lo Yisram, V'abalei Min Aptor L'Chiyuv. So Zok the Gemara, Zok Rashi, V'nir this is the real pshat in the Gemara. And that's how we're going to learn. Shat Tevel Azeh, Tevel Gomer Haya. Like I first said, it was not Demai. It was real Tevel. V'chivin Shenis Arav B'chulin, once it got mixed into the Chulin, bottle. The tevel will have been bottle midoraisa. The midoraisa chad betray bottle. V'avalei poter midoraisa. So when you have now some tevel that are mixed into chulin, midoraisa chad betray bottle, and therefore there is no longer a chiyuv doraisa to be misakin. V'rabbanon hu da'achmer bei v'omar tevel osur b'mashu. The Rabbanon made a chumrah and said that a little bit of tevel mixed into a lot of chulin would aser it b'mashu. The hitzrichu and they midrabanan were mechayev lahafresh olav truma. So therefore, you cannot use that same pile, the mixture pile, to be mafresh on the tevel that's lost inside here. The chulin misukanin niftu legamri. The chulin that's mesukan already are potter. It can never be mesakin anything, even something that's only mechuyev tikun midirabanan. Va'afilu chiyuv dirabanan leka. The chulin has no chiyuv at all. It's the taruvus that has a chiyuv midirabanan to be ma'aser. So what's the Eitzah? And therefore the Eitzah given by Reb Tarfon to this yid was say the kach min hashuk, go buy from the shuk, va'aser alav, and use that to be ma'aser on the tevel that's lost in this pile and is only mechuyev in tikkun midrabanan. L'fi cheshbon tevel shaboy, and figure out how much tevel is in there. You don't know which items are tevel, but you know how much tevel got mixed in, and make sure to be ma'aser 10% of whatever tevel is inside. Kasavar, in order to have this psak, or Tarfon has to hold of a combination of halachas. He has to hold that reiv amei haaretz ma'asrin. So therefore, when you buy the mai from an amoritz, you also hold that it's poter midaraisa. So now it has the same characteristics as the tevel gomer that got mixed in to the chulin. It's only mechuyev in tikun mi derabanan. Tevel as well is only mechuyev in tikun mi derabanan. So you can use tevel that has a chiv derabanan of tikun. It's only tevel mi derabanan to be mesakin the tevel that's mixed into your mixture that also is only mechuyev derabanan. V'nei marei kach min ha'ovid kechavim the potter nami midaraisa. Why couldn't he say buy it from a goy? Because a goy is potter midaraisa. If the goy didn't have a kinyan to lafkia, so then it would be mechuyev midrabanan. But if a goy has a kinyan to be, I'm sorry, he could have asked it from a goy, because if a goy does have a kinyan lafkia, it would be chayiv midrabanan. So that's also an example of something that's chayiv midrabanan. So why did he have to tell him to go buy demai from a nama oretz? Why didn't he tell him to go buy regular produce from a goy, which is also mechuyev midrabanan? The teretz is the kasavar ain't kinyan la'ovid kechavim. He holds the produce brought from a goy in Eretz Yisrael would be chayiv in trumas hamashis midaraisa, because the goy does not have a kinyan to be oiker the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, so that there shouldn't be a chiv trumas hamashis. Okay. Ikadamri, the Gemara is going to say a second shot. So we're doing Rashi before. Kasover ein roiv amay aretz ma'asrin. And therefore, maybe he holds a chiv to be misakin demai deraisa. So there you would have to come to go to a guy. So let's have a look. Go buy more demai, or go buy demai, because he was never dealing with demai. He was only dealing with a mixture that was mechuyev to be misakin midrabanan. So go buy some other produce that also has a chiv tikkun midrabanan, which is demai v'yaser olav, and use that to be ma'aser the tevel that's mixed in with your chulin. Kosover deraisa baruba bottle. Clearly, you see from Rav Tarfon's psak that he holds that midaraisa the tevel is bottle b'roiv. V'roiv amei ha'aretz ma'asrin mein, because roiv amei ha'aretz take meiser, and therefore v'avalei ketorim min aptur al aptur. He's making truma, he's using for truma something with the rice's potter on something that with the rice's potter. For the Gemara, why was that the age that Rav Tarfon gave? Why didn't Rav Tarfon just go tell him to buy from a goy, which would be mechuyev midrabanan? The teretz is, according to Rav Tarfon, if he buys from a goy, it wouldn't even be mechuyev midrabanan, because kosover ain't kinyan la'ovid kechavim be'eretz Yisrael lafkia midamaiser, and therefore when you buy produce from a goy, you're mechuyev 100% in deraisa to take meiser. You cannot use that tevel to be mesakin the tevel in your pile, which is only mechuyev to be mesukin midrabanan. Ikadami, there's another version as to what happened. That was his eitzah, to buy produce from a goy, because that produce is only mechuyev midrabanan. And he didn't tell him to go buy from an Amaretz. Why? The Kasavar he holds, in this nusach he holds, Yesh kinyan la'ovid kechavim be'eretz Yisrael afkim midei meiser, and therefore it's only mechuyev midrabanan. So this is a perfect shidduch. V'avalei min aptur l'aptur. The meiser, the produce that you buy from the goy, is only chayiv midrabanan. The tevel that is mixed into your chulin is also only mechuyev midrabanan, and therefore it's a perfect tikkun. According to this nusach, why didn't they tell him to buy from an Amaretz? It'll be demai, like in the first nusach, because kasover ein roiv Amaretz ma'asrin, and therefore demai isn't just a rabbanon, demai is even a chiyav midaraisa. Gewaltig. I think we lost David Zolti. He was here before, and he disappeared. I wonder if he got tired of waiting. What? Oh, you're back. Oh, okay, gewaltig. I'm not sure why I didn't show up. Okay, shkoich. It didn't show up on my screen. Could be if the camera's off, it doesn't show up at all. Okay, gewaltig. Zogt Gemara weiter. Sholach lei Rabbi Yemer bar Shlamya l'Rav Papa. Rabbi Yemer bar Shlamya sent a message to Rav Papa. Had Amar Ravin bar Chanina Amar Ula Amar Rab Chanina halacha ke Rab Shimon Shizuri v'loyed. he actually said not only that, wherever Reb Shimon Shazuri paskins anything, we paskin like Reb Shimon Shazuri. Af b'nis arv le'tevel b'chulin. Halacha k'moisei af b'nis arv le'tevel b'chulin. Would halacha be like him, even in the case of tevel that got mixed in to chulin? Amar le'in. He said yes, absolutely. Amar Abashi, Amar li Marzutra, Kashi ba Rab Chanina Misura. Rab Chanina Misura had a kasha. Pshita. It's Pashat. Mika Amar b'Mishnah Senu Kol Makam Sheshona Kamar. Why are you asking me if it applies to this halacha as well? Right? Shimon Shazuri said Pam Achas Nas Arav Li Tevel B'Chulin Uvasi V'Shalter Shaptarvin. Why do you need to mention over here that the halacha of Shimon Shazuri? That's what he said. To Teretz is it's not Pashat at all. I'm sorry, forget it. It is Pashat at all because it doesn't. The halacha that was said was not whenever he said something in a Mishnah. It's whenever he said something. This thing that we quoted about the Tevel mixed with Chum was a Brisa, it was a Tanya. It wasn't a Mishnah. So why would you think just because it says Tanya that there the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Shazuri? The member that was said was not Kol Makom Sheshana b'Mishnah Seinu, and then you can doubt if it applies to something quoted from Reb Shimon Shazuri in a Brisa. The message was Kol Makom Sheshana, anything he said. So therefore, what's your Hadamina that the halacha would not be like Reb Shimon Shazuri? In the case of Tevel that got mixed into Chulin, there's no reason why it should be different than any other member of Reb Shimon Shazuri that this member is referring to, that the halacha is like Reb Shimon Shazuri. Amar B'zira Amar Chadan Amar Rav. Kra Haba B'shnei Shitin. What if the cloth tore? But how far was the tear? It tore down through two lines. Yitfor, you could still sew it up. Of course, that's only if the tear did not tear a letter. So that would be pretty hard. But we're soon going to see it's this tear of two lines doesn't necessarily mean that it tore in the ksav. Even if it tore in the margin, but it tore the length that it would have reached two lines. Yach Yitvar, up to two lines Yitvar, he could sew it up. B'shorish al Yitvar. But if it's already three, he shouldn't sew it up anymore. And Rashi says, Ela Yisalek es Hayariah. You have to replace that whole page. Omer Rabba Zuti, the little Rabba, said to Rav Ashi, that we said you cannot sew it up if it's such a large tear. We only said it by an old cloth, I guess because it's not as strong. Rashi says cloth yoshan migni kriya. Looks, tear is worse. But if it was a new one, less lamba, there you might even be able to sew up a larger tear. I guess it's still new and fresh. It won't look so bad. Frek the Gemara. Not for Zog to Gemara, but the Gemara clarifies. V'leya tikta mamish. Doesn't literally mean if it's old. V'leya chadita mamish. And when we say new, we don't mean mamish new. Ela ha deloya fitzon ha da fitzon. Now here we have a big controversy in the Rishonim how we learn this. Rashi learns a fitzon aveshachar katikta. So even if you have something that's brand new, but you already smeared it with a fitzon, which was smeared with something from the gallstones that made it black a little bit. Once it has that applied to it, it looks bad. Gallnuts? It's gallnuts, okay. It looks bad if you sew it up. So if it looks, so it's not about the quality of the binding, it's about how it will look. Once it's smeared with a fitzon, even if it's brand new, we call it old. Now the problem is with this pshat that some Rishonim ask on Rashi. Well, then it makes sense to say that atikta doesn't mean new and old. Doesn't really mean new and old. It means if it has this coating on it or not. But the problem is, it is atikta mamish. Because if it's taka old, right? If it's taka old, then you also have a problem. The whole vort was, according to Rashi, is when you smear it with this coating, it looks old, so it makes a new look like an old. But an old mamish for sure should be a problem. So they ask Rashi, I understand why you say v'lechadata mamish, but you can't say v'lechatikta mamish because atikta mamish as well is going to be a problem. It's not only about afitzon. So therefore, there are some Rishonim who learn this Gemara a little differently, and they learn the tikkun shalonu choshev kafitzon. One second, where this is. It's not the Tosha, it's a different kasha. Because Tosha says, because they have to be me'ufats. One second. So there are those Rishonim who learn, let me make sure I got it right. There are those Rishonim who learn that afitza make it better. That afitza make it better. So let me look it up inside. Let me see where he explains it. Yeah, he holds that old cloth is weaker, and it's going to allow the tear to get bigger. One second. Let me see where it says it. Oh, here it is. Oh, the Chazon Ish asks. That's right. The Chazon Ish asks, according to what we just learned, a klaf yosha that's animal offered, you'd have the same problem. So he brings down from Rabbeinu Yonason that the chiluk between klaf yosha and klaf chadosh is that the yosha is weak and it could tear, and the newer is stronger. So it's not about that it doesn't look nice, like Rashi says. It's about if it's strong, and therefore, if you coat it with this hafotzim, that'll even strengthen an old cloth. So it's saying for carrot, even if it's old, but if it's shmeared with the hafotzim, it protects it. It makes it stronger, and therefore you would be able to fix it. So Rashi holds, if you smear it with this stuff, it makes something new be like old, and you wouldn't be able to fix it. The Rabbeinu Yonason says pum for carrot, that afotzim makes it better, and therefore, even if it's old, if it's coated with this afotzim, you would still be able to sew it up. Then there's a discussion, instead of sewing it up, are you allowed to put a piece on the back and glue it together? So you wherever there's a tear, take like a Band-Aid and put it behind. So there was a shaila if that's something separate, but there are those who learn that even in our Gemara, that's what you're doing, but you're sewing it together. But you do have that patch behind it. So again, so the shaila is a patch different than this? Maybe a patch would be better, or does this also refer to doing this with a patch? Okay, so to Gemara weiter. What are you supposed to use to sew it up if it's torn? Dafka sinews, avol begraden, which are threads, fibers, loy. How does the article touch graden? Rashi says it's from the edge of the gadam, so it's like fibers. What? Threads. Okay. Look, Rabbi Yehuda bar Abba. How about ben daf ledaf or ben shita leshita? My zokt gemara teku. What if we're Torah, it's not in the middle of a word, it's either in between two columns or between two rows. I'm sorry? No, so I must have been wrong. Here the Gemara brings up not on the words. So the Gemara shouted before it was on the words, now the Gemara shouts, what if it wasn't on the words? So let's see Rashi. Ben shita l'shita im nikra yitpar or lo yitpar. So does it have this same halacha or not? Or maybe you could even allow a larger tear to be repaired. So this is what I was mistakenly referring to. So the Gemara's halacha of 2 you could fix, 3 you can't, is speaking where it actually is in the written section. But if it's in between the lines or in between the row, in between the columns, that's where there would be a shaila.
Why is it not considered possible in Yosy?
Why would it be lying Yosy? Every Sefer Torah, you're putting a whole bunch of things together anyway, right? You make
You're not writing it.
No, you are writing it. If it's a letter torn, you can't fix that. That kula abamoida.
We're talking about.
No, we're talking about if maybe in between two words on a line, or in between two letters. But if a letter is actually torn, you for sure would not be able to use it. So now we're departing from the Sefer Torah and we're going to visit mezuzah for a minute. Omar Rav, mezuzah shekosva shtayim ksheira, means 2 words on every row. We learned earlier that each row in the column has to be the width of 3 times l'mishpach hashem, right? But by mezuzah, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that restriction. Mezuzah shekosva shtayim is ksheira. Ibelu. What about shtayim v'shalosh v'achas? 2 on one row, on the third row 3 letters, 3 words, and on the third row 1 letter. Mal, would that be good? Omar Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak, kol shekein she'asa ksheira. Kol shekein she'asa keshira. Surely it should be allowed because it's made like the shira. Let's have a look at Rashi. Shtayim shitos ktsois shita bashtei tevois. Shtayim bezu v'gimel bezu v'echad bezu mai. So he said, Kol shekein ksheira she'asa keshira. It looks like Oz Yosy Moshe sheshita achas arucha v'shita achas ktsora shein memale kol hashita. Right, we know that the writing of the Sefer Torah by the Shira, it's like a brick over a space. It's made offset. So that's what this type of configuration looks like: 2 over 3 over 1. So therefore, he says closer that would be allowed because it's like the Shira. Zog to Gemara Meisvei. It says not like that. It says also keshira or Shira kamesa, or you wrote the Shira with regular writing, psula, it's puzzle. So how can you tell me that it's good because you wrote it like the Shira? You have a brisa that says if you write it like the Shira, it's puzzle. So the Gemara Kitanya he b'Sefer Torah. By the Sefer Torah, the Shira has to be written like the Shira, and the regular psukim have to be written like regular psukim, and they shouldn't be switched around. But by a mezuzah, if you wrote it keshira, it would be kosher. Itmar nami Omar Rabba bar Rav Chana Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Omar Rab Achaba bar Chana Omar Rabbi Yochanan mezuzah she'asa shtayim v'shalosh v'achas. So the top row was 2, the second row was 3, and the bottom row was 1. Ksheira ubevat shelo yasenu kekuba. As long as you don't make it 3, 2, 1 like a cone, kazeh, or like either like a mountain or like a cone. Ka'or rochav milamata v'kotcha milamayla. Dainu achas shtayim v'shalosh. You shouldn't do it like that. Ubevat shelo yasenu kazena, which is 3, 2, 1. So don't do 3, 2, 1 and don't do 1, 2, 3. Those would not be allowed. Amar Chista, ala oretz. The words ala oretz, because when we write the mezuzah, it has kriyashim in it. So it says l'seis lahem kimei shemayim al ha'oretz. So don't ala oretz. Amar Chista ala oretz b'shita achrayna. You could put ala oretz, just those 2 words on the last line. If you're at the end, right? Kimei shemayim al ha'oretz. Odema ikad amri b'soy shita. There are those who say it should be at the end of the line. The ikadami b'tchila shita. So we know when you're using a word processor, you can click aligned with the right margin or aligned with the left margin. So the shaila is, if al ha'oretz was on the bottom line, should you align it with the right margin or should you align it with the left margin? Why yes? Why either way? Manar b'soy shita. The mandama holds you should align it with the left margin. It's because we want Kimei Shemayim to be right on top of the words al ha'oretz. So the pasuk reads L'aseh Lehem Kimei Shemayim al ha'oretz. We want al ha'oretz to be right below the Shemayim. Kikvei Shemayim al ha'oretz. Uman da'amar b'tchila shita kehechad mechag Shemayim ha'oretz. If we want al ha'oretz to be on the right margin, we want them to be far away. Why close and why far? So Rashi explains. Kidesh use Shemayim al ha'oretz to mashma kedechsiv. It fits in with the words of the pasuk. There's a pasuk that says the distance between the Shemayim and the Ha'oretz, that's how long your life should be. So we want to show that contract, Shemayim al-Aretz, to indicate that we should have Arich Hashem. Umadar b'tchilashita says verkehrt. I want Eretz to be far away from Shemayim, because that means it's a much longer life. So it's all very symbolic. I saw Rav Huna when he rolled up his mezuzah, the korach me'echad klapei Shema. When he rolled the mezuzah, he didn't roll the mezuzah from Shema to echad. That means echad would be on the outside and Shema would be on the inside. Rather, he rolled it from echad to Shema, so Shema would be right on the outside. That's how he rolled it. And the Oysa Parsha says, in the Parshias of the mezuzah, which has more than one Parsha, we'll soon see that speaking about Tefillin that has more than one Parsha, he would not go to the next line to start a new Parsha. He would start the second Parsha with a little blank space on the same row, a little bit further along on the row. Meisve, Amar B'Shim ben Elazar, Reb Meir Hayakaisva al Duch Sustus Kamindaf. He wrote it on cloth that wasn't completely peeled off. There's an extra layer on it. He used to write it Kamindaf. Rashi says Kamin Omed Shebesvarim Arucha Ksara. He would write it narrow but very long line. Go to Gemara. The oyster revach milamaila. He would leave space on top. The revach milamata, and space on the bottom. The oyster parsha psuchais, and he didn't start the second parsha on the same line. Rather, he started it on the next line. So Amarti Loi, I told him, Rabbi Matam, why do you do this way? So Matam ata oyster psuchais. Why are you skipping to the next line to start the second parsha? V'alei b'Torah sumoisem. The parsha is in the Torah. When they're in the Torah, they're sumois. So why would you make them suchos? Oisei revach shela'achar v'sharecha husasum. V'arevach b'emtzah. So in the Torah, the space after uvisharecha, on the very same line, the next parsha starts. So here, when you're writing the parshas, why did you go to the next line? Amalei, he told me, Hoyel ve'ein smuchos min haTorah. You're right. In the Torah, it's on the same line as the next parsha. But we're not taking the next parsha. We're taking a completely different parsha. We're taking one parsha from here, one parsha from there. For that, I want to make a proper hefsek. So Rashi, Hanach shtei parshas shezuk suva be'eschanon v'zuk siva v'b'hoi ekev lefichach enoshim psuchos. That's why I made it psuchos. V'yomar b'chananu omarav halacha Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So if he passes like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, so there's two things that we just quoted from Reb Shimon ben Elazar. One of the two things was that it's psuchos. My lava psuchos. Pashas that's going on psuchos is where he said that the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. And the problem is, we just said here that Rav Huna did it sesumais. So why would Rav Huna do it sesumais if his Rebbe did it psuchos? That's the kasha. Zokt Gemara loy arevach. You know where Reb Chananel said halacha like Reb Shimon ben Elazar? That's on the fact that you have to leave space. The kamarevach Amar Menachos b'Yaakov Amar lo Amar Reb Shmuel b'Yaakov kamolei atva desifri. What is atva desifri? Rashi says gloin min sedoik hanoshik dafei kodesh lo yichbul. They had some type of tool that, in order that it shouldn't roll up while they're working on it, it sounds like it's like a ruler that had a slot in it. So you slid the paper in and it held it open. It's some type of clip. So that's how much space he has to leave at the beginning of the Amud. Okay, let's stop here because I have to leave some daf for tomorrow. It's a short daf tomorrow, yeah. Okay, even if I can bench the talk.
These cups, disclaimer.